Good evening, everyone. Good evening once more, distinguished viewers across Nigeria and the diaspora. Welcome to another edition of the State of the Nation on Njenje Media TV. I'm your host, Maazị Ezeoke. Tonight, we confront one of the most pressing issues in the Nigeria's evolving political narrative: rethinking power. Obi, Atiku, Amechi, El-Rufai, Malami, Wike, and the quest for opposition unity. As the dust settles on the July 13th passing of the former President Muhammadu Buhari, the political temperature is rising. With insecurity rampant, the economy struggling, and the public trust in leadership dwindling, the 2027 general election may well be a turning point for Nigeria, for those who believe that that's going to be the case. The question, however, is, can the fractured opposition come together to present a formidable challenge to the incumbent APC government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Joining me to dissect this high-stakes political chessboard this evening is one of the country's leading political economists and political strategists, Dr. Katch Ononuju. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Maazị Ezeoke. I'm very happy to be here with your audience.
As you all know, Dr. Katch Ononuju, with years of experience in public policy, party politics, and governance reform, he is a well-known name for many here in Nigeria. Ononuju will help us today to unpack the prospects, pitfalls, and personalities shaping Nigeria's road to 2027. From the possibility of a P2B-Atiku alliance under the ADC to the influence of Njenje Media and the PDP internal crisis and the role of the Middle Belt in the shifting political alliances, tonight's conversation is both urgent and necessary. So stay tuned with us. Don't forget to share this link, like, and subscribe to Njenje Media TV. Now, let me first fire the first salvo. Dr. Katch, I recall that sometime last week, I was in Germany and I was sitting with some friends, and the news broke that the former president of Nigeria is no more with us. Now let's begin with a macro view. How would you describe the Nigerian political climate following the death of former president of Nigeria, whom many Nigerians may describe in certain terms? What's your?
Well, what I would say about the passing of our former president is that he means different things to different people. A man who had the opportunity, he sought first through a military coup, and then later on through the democratic process. But we all ended up seeing that we were so disappointed. For me, we've never been disappointed before like this with leadership. And he has passed. And you can see the kind of reactions that we've had in the north. In Katsina State, the Hausas were jubilating for his passing. And politically, you saw his party people, suddenly, some of them who are now being described as appointees under his administration, say they would not tolerate President Tinubu and his policies. And so they want to now leave and go form a different alliance. But of course, there are a lot of Buharis who are still with President Tinubu. So I see a realignment of leadership in the north. I recognize that Buhari is going means you do not have anybody anymore that people could trust from the far Islamic north. Because as he governed, security became the most potent problem among discussants in the whole of northern Nigeria due to the industrial-scale ethnic cleansings perpetrated by foreigners who came in and whom President Buhari allowed to stay. But President Buhari did try for them in trying to find land for them with various policies like the grazing reserve, the car colony arrangement, which didn't work, and then the National Livestock Development Program, which didn't work when we found out about, a palm sec in the ministry before government was formed in 2019, giving out LPOs for Ruga that killed it. Then we also came down to the issue of the consolidation of underground and surface water, plus 6 kilometers of embarking land. Because wherever you find land, you need to have water in it to resettle these refugees. But because Nigerians were so emotionally attached to land, they didn't budge. And then under the Buhari administration, the soldiers looked the other way. And while militias went on industrial-scale ethnic cleansings through the Hausa states of Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and of course, you saw the problems in Niger State, and also the problems you saw in Benue, in Plateau, in Taraba, in Nasarawa, and quite a lot of places. So he means a lot, different things to different people, and that's why I say so. I'm saying this because. Okay.
Sorry to interject here. Let me come back to the point that you made earlier. It's quite shocking that when the former president died, that in his own state of Katsina, we saw people on the streets. In Kano, we saw people on the street jubilating. Many would have thought that most of the southern states, especially areas like Lagos, where the NSAS happened, where the younger generations are angry with him, are the ones that probably were expected to be on the street jubilating. But we saw that the southern states were calm, very reflective, but some parts of the northern states took to the street. But you are making an allusion here that it's not the north. Specifically, you use the word that the Hausas within the north are the ones that engaged in that. Does that mean that the Hausas in the north somewhat felt threatened by the former president?
It is because in the whole of Nigeria, the Hausas suffered the most under 8 years of Buhari's rule. Because when he could not get these lands that he sought, resettle Fulani refugees escaping from the war in central Mali, the war between the Dogons and the Fulanis in places like Mopsi, and then when there was a coup, the new junta sided with the Dogons. The Fulanis now escaped into Nigeria. And then plus the Fulanis who had left previously from Central African Republic, who came previously to Benue State, where Siswan to give them land. So they were all loitering everywhere. When Nigerians refused to give land, the very first place where the wave of ethnic cleansing started was in Hausa land. Hausa towns like Basari in Katsina, Sapana in Katsina, Kankara in Katsina, Damusa in Katsina, Dutsima in Katsina, and then going further to Hausa areas like Bungudu, Malele. I saw terrorists that I saw in Dangobe on the way to Dansadao. They were the same terrorists that I saw who now later came to mass up at Dogongona. Dogongona is at the Games Reserve behind Biriningwari, behind Pandogari, behind Alawa. So because the Hausa suffered so much, and even as I tell you, Katsina is about 87% Hausas. Today, you will not see Hausas elected anywhere. So the Fulani strategy of settler colonialism was deepened. So it was when we couldn't get there, even to as far as places like Goronyo, Hausas were being massacred like flies. That's why you saw Hausas very angry in both Kanu and also in Katsina. Nobody suffered in Nigeria under Buhari's rule than the Hausas. Never mind his weaponization of nepotism against the Igbo, and then his further entrenchment of things like a python dance, which came under the regime of Rochester Okorocha, then before it was advanced to the sting operation known as unknown gunmen. Those were sting operations perpetrated by elements of the Buhari administration, which ended as Tinubu came in and Tinubu stopped all federal fundings for such sting operation. So what Buhari did was so bad to a lot of... What about the Benue Valley? What about the Benue Valley? The only offense the TV have, the Benue thieves are, the state is 98% Christians. The only religions you see there are things like the Catholic Church and then the NKST. The NKST means Nengu Christi, Al Sudan, Hentif. And this is a traditional religion that was there just the same way you saw the Ekwa, the ecumenical community for West Africa in the rest of the areas of the Middle Belt, extending down to from southern Borno, coming down to the Tangala areas, extending to the Siawa place in Gombe, into where the Biroms are in Plateau, even with all those people coming down to the people you know as Bagi, who they call Gwari, who are there, who actually own historically Biriningwari, Pandagari, Alawa, and Kaduna, plus Abuja. Those belong to the Bagi, also known as Gwari. So a lot of people suffered. Don't forget, we had a longest period of democracy since the British left under this period. So after the Portuguese who came here early left, the British took over after the Berlin Conference. Then the British left, the Fulani stayed behind. But the problem the Fulani had now was, in our democracy, they don't have numbers to maintain their previous entitlement positions. And that's why you saw they have been using violence to try to get land. And I think if Buhari had put some energy to actually resolve, like the Malian crisis, the 2015 peace agreement, to go and find with other leaders to negotiate, he could have allowed those refugees to stay back there, instead of trying to bring them into Nigeria, plus the ones from Burkina Faso, plus the ones also from Morocco, for which the Moroccan monarch came here and told him he doesn't want them going into Western Sahara. But they all say they will come down here. If you talk to Buhari, he will tell you people come from Libya. It's not true. Those were all Fulani refugees. But because they don't have anywhere to settle, because all this this acrobatics he called legislations, Nigerians saw in all that, both the cow colony, both the grazing reserve at the beginning, the things like consolidation of underground and surface water, plus 6 kilometers of embarking land, and issues like all those. Even now, Tinubu trying to pacify, say he will create cattle reserves. You don't do that, because creating those things is like creating new Zango Katabs. Remember, in the military era, they created 2 Zangos. One Zango in Kaduna, another Zango at near Lagos. It was a Zango Ota that Obasanjo said, okay, this agricultural initiative, they said yes. Obasanjo seized Zango Ota and turned it into Obasanjo farms, forcing the Fulani to move towards Shagamu. But because of the resilience of the Ijebu, they couldn't do anything in Shagamu. Then the one of Zango Kataf, you can see the problem they are now having with the people from Southern Kaduna. Anywhere you create this kind of reserves, they will converge there. With time, they will start struggling for the land with indigenous people. This is a problem. So that's an issue we have. Instead of them staying in their country, Buhari was looking for land to resettle them. And when they couldn't get land, they now started this industrial scale ethnic cleansings, which now brought about the genocide you see across the north. And that's why you saw the Hausas jubilating as Buhari died.
Okay. So now let me piggyback a little bit here. I mean, we're going to move into the main issue here. But before I do, I want to ask you this. Do you believe that Buhari's death will trigger a power recalibration or further entrench the current political status quo in a sense where if you look at the old CPC, or rather if you look at the North as an entity that comprises the Northeast, the Northwest, or rather this, okay, let me put it this way. If you look at the Islamic North, do you think that his death will now trigger a fight for someone who is going to inherit that fundamentalist that he kind of, chaired while he was alive?
I will say that yes. You see, before Buhari, while Buhari was in power, someone like El-Rufai, the reasons why you saw those cleansings occur in Satan Kaduna, he wanted to endear himself towards the fundamentalist North, because the Hausas are much comfortable with someone like Kwankwaso because of what he did for them. So El-Rufai, yes,
Is Kwankwaso also Fulani?
Kwankwaso, don't forget, Kwankwaso's origins are very, very murky. Yes, he grew in that town established by Chief Felix Okonkwo of Okonkwo and Sons, but he will be the best person to answer, who are you? You know, he's the only one in Kanu who talked to the Hausa, who tried to help the Hausa, like Aminu Kanu did. So that's why you could say his past is murky. Only him can say that. Ganduje is open about him being Fulani. But Kwankwaso's greatest achievement in 8 years of Buhari was staying alive because they didn't like him. So for that, Kwankwaso is like a champion for the Hausa, even though some Hausas may not agree with that. But those who were deep in the Fulani game were El-Rufai, Ganduje, and then you have people, some of them who were with Buhari, Fantami. Fantami, of course, you know the things that were ascribed to him. And of course, today that the CPC war is now beginning to brew, there are those who are saying, no, you're not part of us. You're not a Buharist. You are just an appointee of Buhari. So what we are now beginning to hear is appointees of Buhari are different from fundamentalist Buharists. Those who believed in him, those who stayed in CPC with him, even when he was running election alone, until he now formed the alliance with Tinubu. Then Atiku now brought in the MPDP from the PDP to form the alliance. Obonoyonu came with his own AMPP. Rogers came with the faction of Abga. And so that was how they now formed the APC coalition that bettered the Buhari presidency. And then you now see this. Take a look at places like Adamawa, where if you go, you will see that the governor of Fintiri has now decolonized, the people who were complaining about being infused for over 120 years under the Fulani Emirate of the Lamido of Adamawa. Today, the groups like the Vere, the Kileba, the Chamba, the Lugunda, the Maragi, the governor of Fintiri is actually Maragi, they all have now been freed to be given their own chiefdoms. And what the guy is doing is to free them to be chiefdoms so that they can also be free like the Chamba, who have the Hama Bachama being their own chief. So let us just see how that's good. And you might also see the same replications in a learning where whoever is there could now say, okay, the emir should just be emir over the Fulani of Ilori, whereas you can now create an Oninori of Ilori for the Yorubas. I think this is a better way to go about these things as we now try to attempt to decluster and undo the games of settler colonialism that were organized by the Fulani, which actually saw them dominate the Hausas. Because if you look at the Hausa kingdoms that are spread everywhere, the Hausa Bokwe, the Fulani dominated it, also with the help of the British. But now that you're seeing, the only Hausas I can think who are still emirs in Hausa land is probably the emir of Daura and the emir of Anka. Apart from those two, you hardly see any Hausa man that is emir. So why the British left, and most of us in the south and the middle belt had our own indigenous persons as our chiefs and traditional rulers, The Hausas didn't fare better. Even if you move into places like, the Daura Emirate, it says from Daura in Nigeria through Maradi, where Buhari himself hails from, to as far as Agadez on the Libyan border. So you also have the same thing in Adamawa, where the Lamido Adamawa has strength from both Adamawa state into the Cameroons. But as the governor has done, the governor is Mariki, he has now brought out all these people that I've told you not to be anymore under the control of the Lamido of Adamawa. Democracy will give Nigerians the capacity to recalibrate. Democracy is a numbers-based business, and the Fulanis don't have it. So Buhari's passing means you're going to see a lot of fights. Okay? Don't forget, Kashim Shetima is Kanuri. If you go in Nigeria, they exist in about 18 local governments in Borno. They are also there in Yobe. And if you look at the way they were cooperating with the Fulani, that's why you saw the Emirate of Zaria, though is baggy land, it is shared between the Salabawa, the Kasinawa, and then the Kanurawa. The Kanurawa are the Kanuris. The same thing occurred in Nasarawa state, where Nasarawa town is given to the Kasinawa, and then Kepi is with the Salabawa, and Lapia is with the Kanuris. That's why Abacha being a Kanuri did not cite the capital in centrally located Mada owned Akwanga. He took the capital to where his people, Kanuris, are, and that is Lapia. So I think Buhari's death will force a lot of recalibrations in the north. You're not going to see any one man anybody would trust. You will now see different people start now to assert themselves as champions of the different ethnicities, because Nigeria is a country with very strong diversity.
Okay, so I mean, to break it down, to break this down, in conclusion here, what you are saying is that his death will lead to the fragmentation of his 12 million vote into very, power channels like Erufai, maybe, Kwankwaso and co, right? So there is nobody, so what you're saying is, you're actually discounting Atiku, that he is not going to automatically inherit that 12 million vote from Buhari.
Atiku became a Nigerian in 1961. When he became a Nigerian was when German Cameroon, because Germany lost the war, it was not, Cameroon was partitioned between the French and the English. So by the time when the English did the plebiscite in 1961, Atiku and others came in from Cameroon into Nigeria. That's why you see, since Atiku had been running for elections since 1993, the Fulanis of Nigeria have never really seen him as part of them. Good. In those things I said, Atiku's people, the Chamba, have now been removed from the control of the Lamido of Adamawa. So both the Chamba, the Marigi, the Languna, the Vere, and all those groups will now have to be on their own. Atiku, you will ask yourself why he hasn't not been president since 1993. When the pieces fall into place, you should understand what I mean. Because a lot of the Fulani families in Nigeria who could trace their origin from the time when Danfodio, who was rejected first by the Kanuri, and then later when he went to Futa Toro, he met, but he was not accepted by the Mande. He also went to Futa Jalon. He met, but not accepted by the Mandinka and the Susu. But when he came back now to Hausa land, the Hausa Emirate, the Hausa kingdom of Gober. Gober today is an Issa local government of Sokoto. That's where Sarkin Bawa told him to sit and teach his son, Yumfa. This is new, Sunni doctrine which he was talking about. But he now used that when Sarkin Bawa died. He now set up Sokoto, used that to attack Gober. Gober fell, and used that as a staging ground to establish, that movement that now toppled the Hausa Bokwe people. The Hausas have not succeeded since then. The British, like the Fulani, remember when the Nahuru tried to raise the motion for independence. The Fulani said no. So Akintola led the action group committee to Kanu to try to say, why did you say this? That was when you saw the Kanu riots. And after the Kanu riots, the British were happy that it means some people want them to go and some want them to stay. And from there, the Fulani were their darling. So as the British stayed, the Fulani stayed behind.
So what you're saying in essence, in 30 seconds, is that you do not think that Atiku will inherit the followership of Buhari because he is not trusted enough within the Fulani circle. Is that correct? If I read your...
Well, the Fulanis are very, very ethnic in their game. The country, the democracy has forced what I would say ethnic nationalism across the country. The Fulani strategy is to try to get more people under their settler colonialism strategy. I don't think that is going to work anymore. From the unbundling you saw in Adamawa, I think the game is simply democracy. The longer the democracy lasts, the more people will now imbibe more knowledge and then get more awareness and start agitating for freedoms. And that's what it is. I don't think so. The reason why Atiku left the PDP was simple. The governors privately told him that they will repeat what the party did in 2019. And that is zone.
We would, sorry, Dr. Katch, hold on. We will come to that. But let me, before we move into that, let me piggyback on this. I want you to specifically, do you have a hunch here? Who do you think is very likely to inherit that Buhari's 12 million votes?
Buhari never had 12 million votes. Those were votes that were being talked about before the introduction of the biometric authentication before you can vote.
Even if it's 6 million, but those massive votes he gets from the north, who do you think would inherit it?
I don't know. I'll be lying to you if I call any one person. But now Buhari is gone. I don't see anybody with such cult followership that could endear trust. You know, Buhari was a man of nostalgia. The nostalgia the people saw from the days of Buhari and Idiagbon in 83 and so on. That's what made people thought that Buhari is a man of truth. But when we now gave him power, what you saw was fundamental dishonesty, deceit, and then a man that was irredeemably incompetent to manage Nigerian diversity. So that's a different thing. I don't see anybody. No one can do that.
And some will say he became a man that was never aware of anything. Anyway, that's on that. And we have seen, recently, I think yesterday, one of the daughters came out to actually ask for, to thank people for forgiving his dad. And as if he knew before he died, he had the following to say to
so that there has been some form of injustice on him. We are all humans. There is no doubt I hurt some people and I wish they would pardon me. And those that think that I've hurt them so much, please pardon me. I thank you.
So that's a quick break. My guest is going to join me back. Okay. So, Dr. Katch, you're welcome. In that video is quickly a video of the former president saying if he has hurt anyone, that he is sorry and pleaded that people forgive him. And the daughter yesterday, in a BBC interview, said that, thanked Nigerians, those who forgave his father while he's alive. Now, in 1 minute, what is your thinking and why do you think it is necessary to dwell on whether the people forgave him and the reason why you think he actually asked for forgiveness before he died?
I remember when I was in private discussion with a lot of people in Washington, when they got very interested in Nigeria, I was called. And in that private session, I was asked that what he's doing now, allowing foreigners to engage in this very vicious ethnic cleansing attacks, do you think they will succeed? I said, no, they won't. And they said, why do you think so? I said, they don't have the numbers. and because of Nigeria's diversity. I knew that. I was talking about that right from the word go. So now that they have not been able to succeed, that's why you saw they were stuck in Benue. And when Tinubu became president, the army arrested Bello Abdullahi Bodejo. Bello Bodejo, by the way, my friend, he came from Niger. He settled in Bauchi State. What is his business coming to Nasarawa to organize militias? In Nasarawa, you have different tribes. The indigenous. You have the Egon, you have the Mada, you have the Awe, you have the Obi, you have the Doma, you have Aho, you have Gwandara. So where did you bring Fulani from? And you now formed a Fulani militia, and you started using Nasarawa as a staging ground to attack the Benue. So when they arrested Bello Bodejo, later on he was allowed to go. But when this fight started again in Benue, the governor said those were the militias. That's why you saw the minute President Tinubu said, why are there no arrests? In 48 hours, they were arrested. What this tells you is that they know the people who do this, but they lack the political will to do the same thing. Who caused this? Everybody blames Buhari. It is Buhari's instructions to the security services. It is also Buhari's ways that forced Danjuma to come to tell us in the open that they are colluding. They are colluding. Danjuma wouldn't lie. Remember what the governor of Plateau said, that even as they ethnically cleanse some of the indigenous people are now pushed into IDP camps, that they now rename the towns. And all I'm saying to people is the Nigerian law under section 516 on conspiracy, if you are caught with stolen property, you'll be arrested. Then if you say you're not the thief, you go and get the thief that gave it to you. If you go to governor of Plateau, let him give you a list of the towns that are being renamed. You go there, catch those people who are there, who are not owners. Let them then go say who are the militias that came to perform the ethnic cleansings of the indigenous people, who even when they're in IDP camps are not safe. So I'm saying this, it happened in Plateau, it happened in Benue, it happened in Taraba, it happened in different states in Niger State. But the people who it happened to most that couldn't talk were the Hausas. You want to talk? Somebody will meet you in the mosque in the afternoon and start asking you, what's your problem? Why are you making noise? What is it you're doing? And the Hausas kept quiet. But when I went on the job I was doing, and after going there, traveling through Kankara, Dangobe, Kwatrakwashi, Funtua, Briningwari, and all, I came to Channels TV to share this with Nigerians. I told Nigerians there is nothing like farmers' headers crisis. What you have are foreigners seeking for land to resettle. Why? Buhari and other West African leaders did not show seriousness in resolving the crisis in either Mali, in Central African Republic, in Burkina Faso, or even in Mauritania. Buhari was telling them to come into Nigeria wherever they come from, and they were coming in with guns. A man with gun is a very dangerous man. When they come in with guns, and they were telling Buhari, give them land, Buhari couldn't get the land. Not that he didn't try, he tried, but the Senate refused all those things of grazing reserve, cow colony, Ruga, water consolidation, water bill, grazing route. All of that failed. So that was why, after the failure, they now took it on themselves to start the industrial scale ethnic cleansing as a strategy to get the land. So you will now ask yourself, how would indigenous people feel about what happened to them under Buhari? That's why Danjuma came back to say, look, the soldiers under Buhari are colluding with these people. And you hear what the DG of the DSS told us recently, that the people should, in the rural areas, organize to defend themselves. And part of the defend yourself strategy is the reason why you're seeing now Nigerians are discussing about state police. If Buhari has undermined the security services by Afghanistanization of the security services, the next step is let the people protect themselves with state police. Okay. So we know where we're going to, and we know where our problem started, and we know where the rain started beating us. It's just that the politicians lack the political will to do the right thing.
Okay, so let's come to the can of this conversation this evening. 2027 opposition unity is the central theme for tonight. What, in your view, is the biggest obstacle preventing a coalition between His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, if any? Do you see any obstacle, or do you see that they are going to work together in ADC?
There is one problem which I don't want to play or lie to you about, and that problem is very basic. In the PDP, what caused the crisis was the political pendulum for the presidential system swings between the North and the South. That pendulum had been in the South, in the North for 8 years. So instrumented by people like Atiku, who formed the MPDP, used to build a coalition, and when that coalition, the APC, brought Buhari, Buhari served 8 years. When that political pendulum has stayed in the North for 8 years, you need to now allow the pendulum swing back to the South. But Atiku said no. And because he said no, I personally, as a member of the PDP, started agitating internally in the party. And when I was agitating, I went to meet my friend Doyin Okugbe, and I said, this we can't start. Because in 2019, I and Dr. Doyin Okugbe worked at the Bukola Saraki campaign. When now the ticket was composed of Peter Obi and Atiku, we joined the campaign. And I told Dr. Okugbe, I said, sir, we're not getting younger. I have known you since 1990 in Ilupeju. We worked on Hope 93. Let us do certain presidency. If it doesn't work, Omoba, then we will posterity know that we tried. He agreed. And we said that we didn't have candidates. So we kept talking. I looked, Owabonwa wasn't internally a member of the party. Price Anyim couldn't gain traction. And some leaders in the North called me, say, Kachi, if you're serious about what you're trying to do, go find Peter Obi. And I asked one of them, I said, sir, why did you say that? He said, your people have money, but they don't put it in politics. Peter Obi brought money to us in Port Harcourt, and that was why, after Atiku won, he announced Peter Obi as vice presidential candidate without consulting. I went to Peter Obi. Peter Obi declined. He told me he would never, ever challenge Atiku. I had trouble. And I started going around. That was when I ran into you, when me and you met at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs at a symposium where Atonkpere was chairman, if you remember. And then I went to see Chief Ezeoke Ochendu. We gathered, met people in crowd. I went to see Okwadike Emeke Zife. He agreed with me. We gathered tune. I went to Chief Nnabuenyi Pat Chidole's house. Chidole dismissed me. Say, you're not serious. Peter won't run. I said, that's why we're going around. Let us come together and talk to him as our people. Thank God, Chidole hosted us. Peter came there, and Peter agreed to consider and run. And that was how the movement was born. So as we now took our masquerades out, people like you, others came. We now had the obedient movement. Now, why I'm saying you this is the reason why we left the PDP was because Atiku Abubakar led people who refused for that political presidential pendulum that have been in the North for 8 years to swing back to the South. And we left the party. So, and the rest, they say, is history. If they're not calling us back to come, let us meet, either in the PDP or in a roundtable you call the alliance, you must perform a postmortem to understand what were the reasons why we left and we living shattered the opposition. If you now want to bring back the opposition together for the sake of our democracy, you must ask yourself, why would the opposition broken? Because the Northerners, after 8 years of the political pendulum being in the North, they refused to swing to the South. And that's why we said, if we are now coming together, whether you call it an alliance or anything you call it, or even the PDP, where the governors have agreed to zone to the South. And because of they agreed to zone to the South, Atiku said he won't be in the party. He will go out. So even if you go out and we meet you in an alliance, you must deal with the issue while we worked out on you causing the opposition to fail. Simple. You're not going to get us with people who are desperate to hold on to power forever, to now get into a muddy fight you call dollarized primary. We wouldn't do such nonsense. You heard what Atiku's Kate were saying. They said that we get paid as much as $30,000 per delegate, and then Atiku still defeated because they gave more. We are not used to giving money. Peter told you he doesn't give shishi. It was because Peter doesn't give shishi that people like Kenneth Okonkwo, whom we first met when we got to Chelsea Hotel, Central Area, that's where he met us. He wasn't part of us when me and you met. Kenneth Okonkwo, so they just came thinking there's something going on with the bandwagon. But because Peter doesn't give shishi, Kenneth left us today. He's working for Atiku. So more people are like that. It is easy for a northern politician with very strong pockets to buy voices from the South to be going to television stuff for them. But I, because I was there at the very beginning, I am telling you now the reason why me and you met, Maazị Ezeoke. It was because we disagreed in the PDP when they refused, after 8 years of the political pendulum being in the North, for it to swing now to the South. And it's not for me. It is for generations coming. It is for the stability of the Nigerian project. Because in any particular project where you exclude a very strong section of the population, it will not work. It will not work. Let us agree now. If the Southerners could bend South over and allow the Northerners to gain inclusion in the university admissions by allowing the cut-off mark system to exist, my children will get 320 before they can be admitted. And then somebody from Zamfara will get only 5 or 2 to be admitted. And I don't talk. Why won't you allow for inclusion of Southerners? But I also recognize it didn't start just yesterday. It started with the June 12th. After 8 years of Buhari, Babangida in power, a Southerner Abuela won election. The Northerners annulled it. Someone like David Mark is on record to have said, if Professor Hunson Nwosu announces Abiola as president, he will shoot Abiola. That's what happened. So what you must ask yourself is, why is it difficult for some Northerners to allow Southerners to participate in the governance of Nigeria? That's what it is. So if you think this coalition will work, they must agree to do what the PDP did in 2019, and that was when the PDP understood that the reasons why the party imploded was because they didn't zone as the Northerners demanded to the North. That was when Atiku formed the MPDP and said zoning must be respected, and then Buhari became president. So if Buhari has done 8 years, I want Atiku to understand those 8 years are 8 years on behalf of the North. Let him allow the political pendulum to come to the South. If that doesn't happen, P2B will never, ever be part of the ADC. Take that to the bank.
Wow. Wow. You know, listening to you, I deduce that, you know, you are convinced that there is not going to be any alliance if the ADC alliance is not zoned to the South.
Yes, I have told P2B that.
Is that a fair assessment of my understanding of what you just said?
That is the truth. There are no two ways about it. Take that to the bank. I have met P2B and I've told him, me and the movement will not support you if you do not allow us to resolve that issue of inclusion. The issue of inclusion is the reason I met you. The issue of inclusion was the reason I started my crisis in the PDP. The issue of inclusion was why I came to talk to you first, and you said no. The issue of inclusion was why I started visiting all those leaders, and when we called you to Pat Chidolio's house, you gave a speech and said, yes, you will look at it. Because I understood when you told me no.
Now, some argue that ego, not ideology, is the real enemy of the opposition unity. You know, that appears to tally with your last statement. Is that a fair assessment?
I would be wrong to try to speak about
Okay, I think the internet obviously has played its part, but we'll see if he's able to unfreeze. Then we can continue with this conversation. For those of you joining us, this is a conversation with Dr. Katch Ononuju, right? Yes, I'd expected that this will happen, that he is going to be able to, but he will be able to join us just very shortly. So, as I said before, this is a conversation, the state of the nation, and this conversation is titled Rethinking Power, Obi, Atiku, and the Struggle for 2027 Opposition Unity. So it's all centered around the opposition coming together in order to be in a position to unseat the incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Having said that, we started this conversation by first acknowledging the death of the former president of the Federation, that is General Muhammadu Buhari, who died last week on the 13th of July, and who was buried in Castina, that is Daura, his hometown, whose son yesterday thanked the president and the people of Nigeria for burying and honoring his dad, whose sister that same yesterday thanked Nigeria for forgiving his dad. And when I read the comment section, I see people who have issues with that, saying that no one forgave him. Well, forgiveness is for those who wish to, but it's not a thing to quarrel with. Now we leapfrogged into the 2027, that is the upcoming presidential election. And in doing that, my guest, Dr. Katch Ononuju, expressly here said that if the coalition will work, he expects that the ADC coalition would have to give its ticket to a southerner. Again, I felt that was too heavy and too direct, but again, that's his opinion. Let's see how that goes when he joins us back. So we are waiting for my guest to join us. And once he joins us, we are going to look at the calculations for 2027. The tickets and the calculations. We're going to look at the role of the Labour Party, if Labour Party is still relevant, the role of the PDP and the actors within PDP. We know we still have actors within PDP. It appears PDP are making overtures to His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. At the same time, you have people who are PDP APC, who are still within the party, and like George Floyd, remember that American guy that was shouting, "I can't breathe," because a police officer had his knee on his neck. So it appears the PDP is also shouting, "We can't breathe," because certain individuals are holding them to the jugular in their party while they are working for another party. Many has also argued, why is the PDP not able to issue an ultimatum to those who engages in such? Interestingly, the PDP appears to have been able to resolve the leadership crisis that was about to rock them, where the court ruled in certain interpretations that Sam Anyanwu was no longer the secretary. But for some level of maturity, it appears that the PDP was able to eventually agree on certain compromises in order to allow Anyanwu his tenure probably to November 2025. Some analysts will argue that this offers PDP the opportunity, once this is then done, to come back to life and begin to make some inroads, and probably to rattle the ADC. As you all know, 2 days ago, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar left the PDP, followed by the resignation of my good friend, Dele Muhammadu. So, and after that, there are a couple of individuals that have also left the PDP and now in ADC. There is, in my view, what I call the crisscrossing of political actors. Some are moving from, before now was governors moving in drove into the APC. You recall the governor of Delta State, Sheriff, recall the governor of Akwa Ibom State, moving into APC. In River State, the former vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, that is Okowa, who also was the former governor of Delta State, moved into the APC. Now, you have actors moving from the PDP to ADC, right? And today, the Labour Party had a press conference, issued their own statement. When you look at that, I think at some point, if you are really not strong and if you do not keep your eye on the ball, at some point you may get sidelined and distracted. There is a lot happening at this point. Okay, so I think my guest probably was still having difficulties in joining, which is quite unfortunate that this difficulty is being experienced now. But worst case scenario, if he's unable to join me, I may have to try to get him on the phone to see if he is able to join this conversation, right? So people, let me quickly see what, when he comes back, okay, he's joined me now. So Doc, you're welcome back to this conversation. The moment your camera is on, then I'll be bringing you on. Dr. Katch, can you hear me? Oh, he's gone. He joined and I brought him in and he left. While I wait him, I wait him rejoining me, let me quickly, if you don't mind, take some of your questions. And Touchdown says, anyone who forgave Buhari maybe did not inquire about the particular Buhari. Maybe. Okay. So this argument about Buhari 2.1, 2.0, 2.2, 2.3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is really, in my view, really getting ridiculous, if you permit me to use that word. But again, there is only one Buhari. Whatever else is just narrative peddled in anger. When two people are fighting, one is looking at something to demarcate the other. Okay. So, Doc, you're back again.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry, the foot was mine. The Nigerian issue. The NEPA just switched off my something and that just broke me down. So I'm back now with my gen.
Oh, okay. So that's fine. Thank you very much for rejoining me. Now, quickly, let me go to, I did ask a question about if you think the coming together is ideology anchored or is it something that is based on ego? If you do 1 minute on that, so let me move on to the next question.
The coming together is, as I told you, a follow-up. Since the end of the elections and we got angry and we cut off from dealing with them, the opposition has been in shambles, and that's the truth. They came to us earlier, told us to come join with them to go do protests against Tinubu. We refused. When they were doing, we're busy calling ourselves across the country that will not be part of this. And I went on television to say, we will not be part of this. So when they finally got to the street to protest against Tinubu, we did not follow them. But then as they continued and the things got the way they were, they now called. And we said, okay, Peter can now go talk to them. And that's that. And that's what he did, went to talk to them to hear. But that didn't mean that the fundamental reasons why we left had changed. And so if we're back to them now and they say that, okay, let us make up, we're not telling them the reasons why we left was because he refused for the presidential pendulum that had been in the north for 8 years to swing back to the south. If you're not agreeing that it swings to the south, since it's been in the south for 8 years, we'll take it from there. So as you
Dr.
say,
Katch,
yes.
I catch something you said now. He said, if they call us back, meaning, is there, let me explain this to my viewers. Is there any kind of plan that if the PDP says, okay, you guys, I know we offended you, please come back. Are you saying that, you're going to abandon the ADC and go back to PDP?
I am
Did I hear you
having
right?
a lot. I have been having a lot of discussions with a lot of governors, a lot of stakeholders in the PDP. Peter has also met the governor of Bauchi State, the chairman of Governors Forum, Governor Bala Mohammed. Damagun have been reaching out to us and everything. And they say we are willing to make amends and do exactly what we did in 2019. We found that the reasons why the party broke was because we didn't do the zoning. So we'll do it now. We are zoning the presidencies to the north. And that was how the Northerners came back and the primary was held. No Southerner was part of that primary. Atiku emerged, Peter Obi was VP, and I was member of that presidential campaign team. I and my friend doing Okokwe. So after that, it finished. And what Atiku went to Dubai, stayed in Dubai. I was a lone voice for the position here in this country. I was talking for the position to the extent that Osibanjo said he will remove his immunity and take me to court. It was when some leaders called me and him together for us to have peace, and he was complaining. And I said, listen, if I ever see Yemi Osibanjo, I will send those leaders. If I see them near a court, I will open chapter 2 of my files on him. Yemi never went because that particular day he announced on Twitter he will remove his immunity and he will take me to court. I got to some leaders who told me that when Yar'Adua was president, Yar'Adua sold leadership newspapers. It was 2 weeks to go to that court case. Members of the DSS and others came to me, and they told him that the immunity is on the office, it's not on him that came from Kasina. So if he wants to remove immunity, he must resign as president. And that was when the leaders asked me, do you think that Mr. Sibanjo will resign because of you? I said, no. He said, go and sleep, nothing will happen. So I wasn't afraid. He gave me 7 days to retract. I did not. He used 2 sons to write me, his pre-action notice, telling me to recount what I said and then apologize. I said, for what? For what? Because what I was doing then, I got all my facts from the Senate. You see, the National Assembly did a public hearing on NEMA. So they now put all that in. So when they did, they gave me, I have a lot of facts. And I went to public to accuse Osibanjo because as the man at the top, the box stoppers at his desk. Instead of him to defend himself, he was telling me that if I don't apologize in 7 days on account, he will go to court. I say, let me see him in court. I told all the people who reached out to me, say, I'm not worried about him. I will be to be honest to you, I was very happy that the vice president was having me as a reason for it. I was so happy. My body was so sweet. Because I know what this game is now, I knew he will never resign his appointment to go to court with me. So he didn't go. That's why you see him recounting that he went to Buhari and told Buhari that they did this and he wanted to go. And Buhari now told him, you're worried about that. The same people arranged, got me married to a woman, even got a wife for me, and fixed dates. Say, if you worry about what they say, you will just die of heart attack. That's what Osibanjo was recounting. So I did a lot while Atiku ran away to Dubai. Why the same man come back now and tell me because he knows how to purchase people? No, I have learned to manage myself, and nobody can purchase me or threaten me.
So, okay, that brings me to the next question. I mean, if you're insisting that, it is either it is zoned to the south or the highway. Now, the question then is, with Wike's working with the opposition ranks and his continued influence in River State and beyond, is he a bridge or a barrier to this coalition building, be it in PDP, APC, anywhere, or PDP or ADC, anywhere? What's your take?
Wike's acrobatics are given oxygen by the PDP having been compromised to refuse to respect zoning. If they had zoned it to the south, whoever emerges from the south, if they want Peter, they could now micro-zone to him, go there, do it, sit and vote him to come. That's how the party behaves. If you zone to the north, there's somebody in our mind and we'll go there. Wike's issue is that by November, the party will go to convention, and from there, the governors will have control of the party. The highest we can get from it, Wike could take his state. Damagun will take Yobe, where Waziri has already left with Atiku. So Waziri is not happy, but Damagun has seized the state. As for Imo State, where the secretary comes from, Anyanwu, conceding that to him wouldn't bring the rain down, because you see, it is a concession given to Anyanwu to allow him to serve as his term. That's why you see the semblance of peace in the PDP. In politics, you give and you take.
Correct.
If the opposition ADC wants to actually work, they will give and they will then take a lot of membership. But if you don't want to give to the Southerners what belongs to them, it will not work. I'm speaking to you now because I still know my body feels the temperature of the country. I grew up as a Hausa son. That's why you see I could speak so well in Hausa, in the Pulupode. I live with the Birom people in Jos. I schooled in Jos. So I can think like a Northerner, and I know. That's why you saw during the campaign, we employed ethnic penetration. We didn't just say you're in charge of the North. No. When we got to Taraba, we were talking to the Mumuyes. We were talking to the Chamba people in Adamawa. We also were talking to the Taruk in Plateau, plus the Birom in Plateau. In Benue, we were talking to TV people, talking to the Igede, Agatu, and the Doma. We went to Nasarawa. We talked to all those Gwandara, the Egon. That's why you saw the Egon boy did so well, he won the election. But of course, the acrobatics gave the thing to who they gave. So our ethnic penetration was so beautiful. We go to Kadoda. We didn't go to Kadoda. We went to meet the Jaba. We went to Coventry. We understood what the ethnicities were. When I flew with Peter on a helicopter from Gombe to southern Borno, we went to meet all those Marigi people. Yes. And you meet the small Babur and all the ethnicities there. So we were targeting the small ethnicities. We met the Tangales when we got to Gombe. We know who to talk to. We talk to Siawa people in Bauchi. We don't just say this man is in charge. No. We know who is who. So that's what we have that others don't have. We visited IDP camps. Atiku didn't visit. So we understood the pains of the ethnicities. That's why you saw Peter Obi defeated Atiku in the Middle Belt. So the Middle Belt, their biggest problem by up to 57% during the election was security. So we knew what it was. We preached to their, and today the security has not abated. The Fulani militias may have just cooled down, but we know the war is on. And I told people, I said on television that it would be wrong to have any Northerners succeed Buhari because the Northerners would not have the strength of character to confront the Fulani militia. And true to type, Atiku never condemned the killings. Atiku never condemned the Fulani militias. Atiku never even went to any IDP camps. Peter Obi did. He didn't want to offend the patrons or the perpetrators of the ethnic cleansing. So we know this. He's weak. He's very weak.
Based on your analysis here, then I would want to posit this question to you, which is, what role does the Labour Party have in determining the direction of the opposition politics in 2027? Because sometimes you hear His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi saying that he is still in the Labour Party while he is talking with the ADC opposition coalition. You see that last week he was in my state of Anambra, and he flagged off the campaign of George Mogalum, who is the flag bearer of Labour Party. So bearing that in mind, what role does the Labour Party of Nigeria have in determining the direction of the opposition politics in 2027?
Specifically, I will tell you first, we were very happy to Labour Party for giving us a platform to sell P2B. If a man you beg for 10 naira gives you 4 naira, what you owe him is thank you. It does not mean that he will give you the rest of 6 or it's a must, he gives you any more. So we tell them thank you. And what I never entered for one day the offices of Labour Party till tomorrow. I'm just a leader of the obedient movement, and that's what I am. Yes, I did anti-party. I did anti-party being a PDP man simply because I knew the PDP people who did anti-party in 2015 did not suffer any consequences. So I didn't think any consequence would come to me. That's what happened. So today, I have learned from our leaders, you can be in PDP and you can be working with the APC. When I now talk about Labour Party, I'm talking about a platform. It was a platform we used to market Peter. Platform is an issue for which you can purchase a lot of shelf parties and then use them to run. And there are plenty of shelf parties everywhere. Right now, the Labour Party has one led by Dele Osman, which is Peter Obi's faction. Of course, you have Mr. Bure, who is busy visiting Mr. Wike. You know, Wike is talking trade. And so this is business. Everybody will mind what he wants, but I can tell you to be rest assured that getting a platform to market what we want won't be an issue. Okay? This is morning on a very, very long creation day. If we could do what we did from 8 months to the election when I met you at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, and we talked. I gave you an interview. That was at an event organized by President Obasanjo where Atongbera came to speak. Obiozo was there. And that was the last public occasion that
of Obiozo. That's correct.
Of not only Obiozo, but also Okwadike Emeka.
Yes, that's correct.
So, if you understand, when we met to do those things, by that time we've not formed the movement. It was when we agreed to move on, that was when people outside came and joined us. Then you now had a movement. So, I want to tell you that if still now we decide on where to go to, and we are able to find a platform, any platform will be happy to host the obedient movement. As you asked me earlier, if the PDP are able to get their act in order and come to talk to us, what for? We can look at anybody. You know, political parties are like a church. You're not looking for the best behaved man. You go there, both the sinners and the righteous people, they're all there. Then you start the human instrumentation of doing what you could do. That is true. When Constantine told the empire to embrace Christianity, Christianity had already been in Ethiopia for over 500 years, but he understood it. And they used it as a platform to organize. And that was when you saw the Catholicism people started converting to Christianity, even those who were also Catholic converted to Judaism. So there is nothing wrong when we find a platform and say this is where it is. People will start converting. People will start moving in. That's what we said. That's why I see the ADC as a staging ground, a staging station for members of the CPC faction, or as somebody told me yesterday on phone, some appointees of Buhari who are not Buharist. That tells you there's already an implosion there. So I'm not moved. I'm not moved, Maazị Ezeoke. If me and you met 8 months to the election and we did what we did 8 months to the election, we still have a lot of time going forward.
Now, obviously, many people, there was a time, I think about 2 weeks ago, people woke up to the news that His Excellency Mr. P2B has already accepted a VP to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Would you think from what you know, that assuming negotiations breaks down, that this kind of combination where he accepts to be a running mate to Atiku again becomes an option for the coalition?
I can tell you that it is not true. People were just doing that. Those are members of the Atiku camp. Every time Peter goes to see Atiku, they come back, they will start saying Peter has done. That was why I said, no, it is dangerous. Peter goes near there. Atiku's desperation is not caused by me. It's caused by society that didn't accept him since 1993. So you shouldn't blame us for any of his issue. But what I will tell you, nobody gives birth to a child to simply purposely want to kill that child. Okay? Historically, no Nigerian have survived the vice presidency. It is a slaughterhouse. You can see the current status of Shetima. Look at what happened to Osibanjo. Look at Nemade Sambo. Good luck is polite, is a gent. That's why Nemade. What saved good luck was that doctrine of necessity. So once you become a VP, to say a very old man like Atiku, because of his old age, like it happened under Buhari, his people will not take over as a cabal. First thing they do, they appropriate the work of the vice president. And in appropriating the work and his anger, they will further deal with him. And before you know it, they degrade him. And so it would be wrong for us to submit people to the slaughter, to be killed, just because we want to make Paul Biya president of Nigeria. It doesn't make sense now. So that's actually the danger in it. Secondly, in Nigeria, you implement your own policy. Remember during the campaign, Shetima was saying, when we come into power, Tinubu will be in charge of economy, I'll be in charge of security. What's going on now? You know, it's like man and woman. It's never what a man tells a woman in the night that the woman sees in the morning. The things change. Stories change. And because of the way Nigeria is, how can Peter be VP to an 80-year-old Atiku? Atiku can't do nothing. The cabal will kill Peter, degrade him, and that will be gone. So since no Nigerian has survived the vice presidency, it will be wrong to commit Peter to this early death. It doesn't make sense.
But many people in private conversations have argued that isn't it better that once this a special VP-ship is offered with like a prime minister sort of power sharing arrangement where the VP will become the coordinating person for the economy. And, examples are cited like when David Cameron won the election, I believe in 2010 in the United Kingdom, and he came in with a clerk in order to, created a position that never existed before, a deputy prime minister, in order to balance power. People to argue, I think somewhat in Kenya, at some point, such an arrangement was also made. Isn't that something that would be a stepping stone? I also watched an interview where someone, I believe, I can't recall the name, a press conference yesterday where they were saying that if such an arrangement is agreed upon and 4 years is done, they should be able to change the constitution to a single term of 6 years. And if that happens, that means having 10 years short at the presidency. When you sit down listening to such narrative, what's your take?
Those are suggestions. It was the same thing Obasanjo told Atiku at inception. Obasanjo tried it. Atiku was doing the economy until Obasanjo now felt Atiku wasn't doing exactly what Obasanjo thought was corruption-free, and he moved in. And as they say, the rest is history. It was also suggested such a thing, but you saw what happened. The Goodluck presidency, the VP didn't run the economy. They appointed Ngozo Konjo-Iweala to become the minister in charge of the economy. You also saw in this current something, the person you regard to those things might just be, the minister for finance. It's not Shetima. So you have to look at the society. Nigeria has not yet matured where people keep their words. Okay, so that's why it's a good suggestion, but let us have that tension.
But you know, if you are agreeing in principle that that's a good suggestion, isn't that what will be backed up with you know, strong agreement that should be made public, not like in 20, you know, during the time of Jonathan, when we read and hear there were certain agreements, and nobody had a copy and nobody knew what the content of that agreement was.
You have to look at the society. Nigeria is not an honest place. The politicians are not honest with themselves.
Okay. Doctor, are you there?
Suggestion to you. It's like Atiku saying you fight corruption. People do talk like Peter Obi said, let people be shot. Atiku didn't fight corruption in his young age. He will fight it at 80 years. Come on, leave those issues. It doesn't work that way. Let us do what I'm trying to tell you. Let us establish acceptable standards for tomorrow so that our children will not have to do what I'm doing now.
Okay.
The anger I had, the amount of friends I lost in the PDP, the kind of things I suffered. Come on, I've suffered so much because of this agitation. I suffered. I got people that I like come tell me directly, you're deceiving Peter. You're deceiving Peter. I said, sir, I'm not. Please. Igbo leaders, remember, when they called me for meeting at Rockview, it was a Hanese, led by Chief Iwanyangu. There, everybody was there. And they some call me aside, say, you and you're doing the this is how you are Igbo. Why are you deceiving Peter? You're trying to drag him into this thing without any structure. That was their word. Structure, structure, structure. Structure. Yet, everybody was following Peter. My appeal to those leaders was, please, we have a 3-horse race. Even if you want to do something like, you know, endorse one party, wait for 3 months, then we'll come back. And that was what happened. Nzozi Chukwu says so, wait for 3 months, you come back. Chief Modo says so, wait for 3 months, you come back. Before you knew it, Chief Modo said, let us not decide anything here that will not allow us to go home for Christmas. Chief Iwanyangu agreed. And that was how they left it. And Peter became generally acceptable. When we came home for Christmas, everybody in the East were Peter, Peter, Peter. By the time we got home, got out to the city for January, it was now a kind of hurricane that took a life of its own. So we have seen this thing before.
I like that statement. Let's not decide anything that will make us not to go home for Christmas. And you know, a good brother and a mutual friend of ours, Kenneth Okonkwo, barrister, recently suggested that fielding a northern candidate like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar might be the only way to counterbalance Tinubu's strength in the southwest. Do you agree with that? And before you do make any intervention, let me quickly bring this video in for your input here.
Letter to become the president. That is strategy. If my own strategy this time around is that I am going to support a northerner in 2027. Really? Yes. And it must be my condition to the northerners. It must be a northerner that the whole north will be willing to support. Like an Atiku. If the whole north is willing to support an Atiku, why not? Or a Tambuwal. If the whole north is willing to support, why not? Or an Erufai. Good. The person must be qualified, must have experience, and if he has experience in the presidency, it's an added advantage. And when we put up anything from the south, that will push him through. Let me tell you. But would that be fair? Would that be fair that there was an 8 years of Buhari, a 4 years, if the case is the way you have put it, of Bola Tinubu, and then now the South has not had a share of 8 years in the rotation understanding of Nigeria, politically speaking? Would that be a fair game? Good. Thank you for this question. And let me use this opportunity to clarify.
Now, listening to this, understanding that Kenneth Okonkwo is a mutual friend, is a friend, and is a brother, and he appeared to have received knocks from certain quarters, while some have really held him as a man of courage and outspokenness. What is your view on that statement?
I will say Kenneth first met us at Chelsea Hotel. By that time, we've already become big as a hurricane. And he was actually a member of the APC. So as he ran to us, and I now being the special advisor to Peter Obi on the public affairs, if you notice, a lot of us Igbos took a back seat, but we just put him up there since he came from Nollywood. Let him speak to that constituency and let's see what it is. So he really didn't know why we were doing the obedient movement. But after we finished the elections, Kenneth was now asking that Peter help him become publicity secretary of secretary of the Labour Party. I told him no. That party is not our own. We only came to beg for platform they gave us, so let them have their thing. It turned out that because Peter doesn't pay, he said he doesn't give shish. And I said, we are all volunteers. Kenneth didn't like that. I think he has run into Atiku. Atiku has now dollarized him, and that's why it is. He's now speaking just for Atiku. So I don't take his words seriously. He is from the Nollywood sector. He's an actor. Let him be acting for Atiku's sake. We did inform Obedient Movement for him to come join us to make Paul Biya president. No, what we formed the movement for was to force inclusion of all of Nigeria in the governance of Nigeria. So, but yes, a lot of us who are here have left. I am speaking to you now. I'm not on salary. I don't get nothing. But it is based on my convictions that I started that campaign. It is based on my convictions that you saw me in Lagos. It is based on my convictions that I did what I did. So if somebody who came to join me didn't understand why I started what I started in the PDP, suddenly because he didn't get gratified by the boss, or he didn't get any advantage he sought from the party, leaves to go seek advantage elsewhere. Then you see him on TV talking like this. I don't take him seriously. He doesn't understand what it is. What we are arguing about is more than that. It's more than that. Remember, Obasanjo was from the South. Obasanjo won back-to-back presidency. Goodluck he ran. Goodluck defeated Buhari. So leave all that talk. What is he saying? That the presidency has been in the South now for 2 years. Me and him should come and sit down and organize to send it to the North, where he doesn't know the intentions of those in the North who are now happy who are unhappy because they are suddenly out of power. What will Atiku do in Nigeria he didn't do since? Tell me. No, tell me now. Is the coming together just to make sure you give the power to a Northerner? What about Nigeria? Ask me what I've gained from Tinubu, and I will tell you, Tinubu has stopped the federal funding of the unknown government sting operation. It doesn't exist anymore. Yes. No single arrest, no single prosecution. Tinubu has now, because of our interventions, been forced to intervene in Benue. What happened? 48 hours arrests were made. Check. Even though you see killings in Plateau, Tinubu has to do more. I condemn Tinubu for his nepotism. Now today he's formed a company to intervene in the Southeast. They asked me last week what I feel about the Southeast. I said 3 things. 1, allows the decentralization of ports, so that ports like Ibono, ports like Awaza, ports like Uguta, ports like Port Harcourt should be allowed to compete with Lagos. 2, when Ibe Kachuku was the Minister of Petroleum, yes, he designed a gas master plan in which the whole of the Southeast were in that plan. But when in 2019, Buhari started constructing the master plan, he removed the whole of the Southeast, even though 74% of Nigeria's gas reserves are resident in the Southeast states of Imo. The largest gas field in Africa is in Asa North, in Ohaji, Anambra, Enugu, and Abia State. Why would you then design the gas pipeline and there is no pressure pipe anywhere in the Southeast? That is number 2. And I also say that You remember when Amechi built his railway, the standard gauge? He built it to Maradi. Amechi is from Eastern Nigeria. The standard gauge of the railway line to us.
And we continue with the narrow gauge. Oh, their network. So let's wait. Maybe the network might come back, or okay, it's dropped now. So let's hope he's going to come back. And I must put a caveat here. You know, I wanted to intervene while he was speaking when he said that Kenneth Okonkwo, that he is working for a larger Atiku Abubakar. I do not think that Kenneth Okonkwo has made that public. It is right and proper to situate that. Yes, he made an argument that he's going to support a northern candidate. And in another interview on channels, he alluded that he would not support a baby, alluding that those he supported last time are babies. So by those allusions, you know, it's fair, right, to say that, to inform the viewers that I do not have, or rather we do not have any evidence that he is working for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. There is also a time he made in an interview, I can't remember if that was Symphony or Arise, that he said that, and he advised Atiku, Kwankwaso, Obi, every one of them to retire. So it might be difficult to just say that he is working for one particular candidate, but his views are known, that he is going to, in 2029, in his political calculation, that is going to be right for him to support a northern candidate. I mean, opinions are free. Everyone is free to hold their own opinion. My guest also holds the opinion that even in the ADC, that, okay, my guest is back, I'm going to be bringing him back shortly, that even in the ADC, if that is not zoned to the south, he's not going to join. So, Dr. Katch, as we begin to round up, so, you know, you were saying something before the network got you short. Anyway, you know, if you want to round up, or else I can move to the next question.
Go on. I'm okay. Bring back the question. Yeah. I'll answer it.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move on. We've dealt with the question on Kenneth Okonkwo. Here, I wanted to actually say this. In all these political calculations, all these political considerations, how crucial is the middle belt in determining the outcome of the 2027 election? Because you keep hammering that, you know, justice ought to go to the south. Where is the place of middle belt in all these permutations?
Before we started campaign of 2022-23, I went around the middle belt and I asked, what do they want? They say they want security. That the amount of ethnic cleansings going on in Kaduna and other places is unprecedented. And that was why you saw Peter Obi became the only candidate that visited the IDP camps. The middle belt, where they are, is security. Security. We should understand that anybody killed in the middle belt is a Nigerian that's killed. Why are we keeping quiet? Why don't we raise our voices when people are being massacred across the middle belt? Look at Kaduna State. Look at Plateau State. Look at Benue State. Look at Nasarawa. Look at Niger. Why should we keep quiet when Nigerians are massacred in the middle belt? And for me, And you can see, apart from General Danjuma, most Middle-West leaders have gone mute. General Gowon is not talking pim. Mark didn't say a thing.
Why do you think that is so? These are military generals and their people are being killed.
Because these military generals are afraid of offending historical friends. But Danjuma, being leader, everything you see Danjuma say are based on intelligence fed him by junior officers who are still currently in the army. So the army will be standing aside and the militias will be wiping villages. But the minute they organize to try to fight back the militias, the army will just come to block them. So General Danjuma is right to say that they collude. The military collude. So there are those who don't want to offend them. Who do you want to go and talk? Is it David Mark? David Mark that said that if Humphrey Nwosu declares Abiola president, that he will shoot Abiola dead. Is that who we talk? He was saying that to make people happy, his masters. Who will talk? It's not everybody that wears the general rank in the middle belt. That's a general. Danjuma is a general in both act, deed, and life. Same as Obasanjo. You saw he's not afraid to speak. How many of them speak up when their people have been massacred? And yet, all these generals are junior to General Gowon. Why didn't Gowon talk? So it's easy. What about here in the East? When I took risk to be talking, there were Easterners who were they didn't want me to talk. I was in PDP when I started fighting the militia killings. There were people in the PDP who didn't want me to talk because I believed that the democracy is a representative democracy where we must to speak and act and do things in representation of the interests of the areas where we hail from. Not wanting to join a man you think will just make you president. Understand that. So by the time what I was doing with Peter became strong, those Igbo politicians became obsolete. How can't you say them? You not see them following Atiku about. You see them campaigning in the East for Atiku. They want to latch on to something to become relevant, just like the man you're calling. Who is he a politician? No. He joined us at Chase Hotel. Remember all Kenneth said, abusing Igbo people about joining Buhari. If they don't join Buhari, they will not be in the mainstream. The same Kenneth came to join me. Same Kenneth now is with Atiku. Forget these things. Some people don't have the intellectual strength to survive in what I'm doing. You need to have the intellectual capability to sustain over a long period of time, not just to jump every train that is moving to Sokoto. It doesn't work that way, my dear brother. I have lost a lot. I know that. I have made a lot of enemies. I know that. But the more I sustained the propagation of my position, Nigerians came to understand it. When I started the Fulani monologue on TV, most people didn't understand me. Today, they understand me. Tell me, is it wrong for me to say it? No. Government moved against me. I will go to channels to speak. I leave. They will call channels and then fine them 5 million. Why? It's just a strategy to make sure they don't bring me. If you bring me, they will find me. Mine is to speak the truth. Let the community know. Let society know what's going on. But those who practice brown envelope journalism can take money from those people and say, okay, I'm not going to bring them again, make you no come harass on that. It's the truth. And that we must fix. Nigeria comes first. You can see with social media, we have incredible amount of spaces through which we can get out our opinions. And that's what it is.
No. Okay, so considering, in alluding to this, considering the reoccurring security crisis across the Middle Belt, do you think insecurity could influence voting behavior and turnout in 2027? Now, don't you think the president, the current, presidency that came to power in what many will consider questionable circumstances, don't you think they would have to, increase the level of insecurity in order for either scare people or make the region, or rather to suppress votes within that region? You think that's something that could, be phantomed?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I believe insecurity will guide the voting pattern of the Middle Belt. I believe any candidate who is willing to speak to the insecurity and challenge those who kill Nigerians in industrial scale numbers will gain the support of the Middle Belt. I believe as far as the Fulani militias continue to seek land across the Middle Belt, whoever that will be seen to fight for them will be who they will embrace. It's not Atiku. Atiku is too afraid to talk harshly against the Fulani militiamen. He seeks their acceptance. He doesn't want to offend their patrons. And of course, you know, this is why Peter won in Plateau, won massively across the areas where this industrial scale ethnic cleansings are occurring. This is the truth. Forget what you say. That's why no single person will inherit the vote of the North. Buhari is gone, and a lot of the problem of the North is now centered again around insecurity. That's why you saw Hausas jubilating in Kano and in Katsina that Buhari has gone. So that insecurity that is in Hausa areas of northern Nigeria and also in a large squad of the insecurity, Middle Belt, will drive emotions and opinions in regards to the voting trends in the Middle Belt.
So many believe that President Tinubu's administration has failed to deliver on its promises. Could governance failure be the uniting factor for the opposition, or as the ruling party accuse those in the opposition that they are uniting just for power's sake? Where do you think the balance is here?
Everybody has different opinions when it comes to this. Tinubu's problem is he failed to respect Nigeria's diversity. I like Tinubu for some things. I don't like him for other things. I hate his sustained implementation of nepotism as a policy of his government. I don't like it. I don't like it. But you can see as the people are coming together, he's beginning to now make appointments, make changes. That's the beauty of opposition coming together. But because we were all scattered, we were not together, that's why he was doing what he was doing. Because now that we say opposition want to come together, you can see what Tinubu is doing. So as far as I'm concerned, no matter who is in power, I seek advantage for my own people. One, I seek insecurity to be fought head on. If Benue falls, the East becomes vulnerable. That's my fear. And that was why I said, no, we cannot support anybody from the North to succeed Buhari. So when it became very glaring that Atiku could not visit an IDP camp because he didn't want to offend the perpetrators of the ethnic cleansing and their sponsors and patrons, I knew he's not there. The people in the Middle Belt understand this. So this is what happened. As for Tinubu, he should come off the high horse. Stop the ethnic bigotry in Lagos, voter suppression protocols. They will not work. Because one of the things I told somebody after Buhari died, I said, Buhari has died. Igbos are still Nigerians. You see? You see that? Buhari became a Nigerian even though his father from Maradi was a Dogara in the palace of the Emir of Daura. And because the Daura Emirate stretches from Daura through Maradi, Tahu, to as far as Agades, anybody from that Emirate will come, get paper from Sarkin Daura, and he's a Nigerian. Yes. That's how Marwa, who is from as far Marwa in the deep of Cameroon, is in Adamawa State. You can come from anywhere and you are part of Nigeria. If the Emir gives you a paper, that's how it works. But you can see, just as I said about Amechi, his legacy is that Amechi was building a standard gauge land. Eastern Nigeria, where he came from, he did not build one. It was building from Kanu to Katsina, from Katsina to Maradi. That is Amechi's legacy. So that's why are they wanting to remove Tinubu? Oh, Tinubu didn't share as they wanted. That is the truth. If they could accept nepotism from Buhari, why are they not accepting it from Tinubu? What did they say? Tell me what Tinubu has done that's different from what Buhari did. Nothing. He said he will continue from where Buhari stopped. He continued. Nepotism. In this case, they call it extreme nepotism because the practitioners of settler colonialism think it's only them that can practice nepotism. So, and I tell them, no, you may have practiced nepotism across the Hausa Bokwe areas, but you cannot now extend it to the rest of Nigeria and accept others to accept it from you. You see, one thing that works for Buhari may not be able to work for Tinubu. That's what you're saying now. I think Tinubu still has time. He has time to now assemble a government that is composed of Nigerian diversity. This kind of Yoruba triumphalism will not work. It will not work. I am actually disappointed in him. I thought he could actually do better. I'm not happy at the things I'm saying. How can Igbos not be part of your government? You have 4 ministers from Ogun State alone, and you have how many? How many ministers from the East? Is it 1 or 2? The rest are ministers of state. This is a problem. This is not fair. He knows he has done us bad, but that's why today he established that investment trust for the East. This is an afterthought. So if I told somebody a month ago, once the opposition start coming together, you will see changes in Tinubu's governance style. So for whatever it means, we are beginning to now see the changes, which I think are beneficial. Changes that seem to suggest to him that his government should be an inclusive government that should not embrace nepotism like Buhari as a policy of state.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Now, if I stay on the trajectory of your previous argument that you are pushing unapologetically that the opposition should zone the presidency to the South. In the South, we have a couple of individuals. That brings us to the man you talked about earlier before now, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibuike-Amechi, the former governor of Rivers State. And when you talked about him, you talked about the things he didn't do within the South, whereas he was able to do standard gauge in the North and in the West, but in the South, in the Eastern region, remained the colonial narrow gauge, track that is actually broken between Aba and Umuahia, and is over 10 years not been fixed. That's a conversation for another day. When you talk about the South, don't you think that if your narrative is, it's accepted, and they say, okay, in the South, let's go to primary, don't you think the concept of we know they give shishi will now make that a man like him in the South with deep pocket might actually emerge as the presidential flag bearer? Now, in answering that question, bear in mind one of the comments he made sometime in a TV interview, I think about a month or 2 ago, where he said that the only reason why he accepts that he is Igbo is because he has sympathy, not that he is Igbo. He wears his Isiago and identifies as Igbo because as a sympathy to Ndi Igbo. How do you react to that?
Amechi is from
Ikwere.
Amechi is Igbo.
But he says he's
Amechi
not.
is from, let me finish, please. I am Igbo. I was born in Diogu, River State. Amechi is from Ubima. Ubima. Ubima in Igbo means forest of the big knife. That means it's a forest. Amechi is from a place beside Obinze. In between Obi, after Amechi, so Ubima is, you have Obinze there, from Amarelu. But because of the civil war, when me and him were children growing up in River State, the army, the 30 who were stationed in Port Harcourt, told us to deny our Igbo-ness because the war was actually about the oil. So they felt the hydrocarbons were well occurring, in River State, and they said we should deny our Igbo-ness. That was 1976. It was Senator Obiwale campaigning then. He said, no, I will never deny my Igbo-ness. Together with Chief Imaguma, they said they wouldn't deny their Igbo-ness. Others followed the armies and they denied their Igbo-ness. We went to election. Chief Aguma, Chief Obiwale won the election in a landslide. But that didn't stop the people who thought getting the hydrocarbon bearing part of Igbo, the riverine Igbo part, out of the Igbo control, that they think that is what they should do. I'm happy me and you are alive today. Amechi's fellow Ikwere man, Senator Mbata, is the President General for Hanes and Igbo. So, to be honest to you, when Peter denied Jesus, it was an act of convenience. It did not deceive the church. They still named the basilica in Rome after St. Peter, despite the fact that he committed that act of convenience. So, Wike's own too was because these people, people who were working with Atiku, started giving money to the mosques to say that nobody should vote for anybody from the east. Wike said, what did this Igbo thing, who has it helped? I bet forget, I started this Igbo denial acrobatic. Yet they still denied him. Because I told people, I said, it is not the Igbo that is the problem. The Fulani don't want to share power with anybody. They didn't give it to Abiola, so they won't give it to you. So all that acrobatic, Wike denied, did this story. They didn't still give him. That's why he said, okay, since this house, all of us built it, you don't want me to be part of it, I'll bring it down. People have different ways of expressing their anger. I didn't do the same. I was campaigning. I was going around. I was talking to people. I met Peter. Peter said, no, please don't talk to me about that. I cannot challenge my principal. That was the words he was using. He was calling Atiku his principal. Say he won't challenge him. So I started by having meetings, going to people, talking to them. And then, as God will have it, Peter finally agreed. And that was how we gave birth to the obedient movement. And then these people joined us. And then today it is history. And that's why you see me here speaking. So I say, if the presidency was acrobatically gotten by Tinubu, and it's now in 2 years in the South, let the Northerners respect that it should be in the South. After 8 years, the pendulum can go back to the North. Why is it that they don't want the presidency to come to the South? It is not an ADC issue. It's not a PDP issue. It started from Abiola. Let us ask the question. Atiku, who became a Nigerian in 1961, why is he not allowing other Nigerians to feel inclusive in the governance of Nigeria? This is a problem for us. Why do some people from the far north think that we in the south don't belong? This is the problem. So that's why I told you, Peter Obi will not be part of any alliance that doesn't zone the president to the south. So if you zone it, fine. Let us go to fight with Amechi. The people in the party will know that they will need somebody that they will get to use to win election. And it's just not like, once that happens, you will see plenty of other parties zone their presence to the south. Go and mark my word. Go and mark it. Go and mark. This is about nation building.
So you believe that if the coalition zones the presidency to the south, that your candidate would emerge victoriously?
I don't have a candidate now. What I have are people I think have the capacity to do that. You become a candidate when you win a party's primary. I don't have a candidate. So everybody now are aspirants. So when you bring it to the south, there are Southerners who will say they're interested. And then the party will look at it, and who they think is better, everybody will zero in on that person. Sometimes these things are not issue of money. It is issue of winnability. Atiku's desperation is not caused by us.
But we have seen it.
Using money.
We have seen it. We have seen it in 2019 in Rivers, and we saw it in APC's. In the last primary in Abuja, where people were paid up to $30,000, and someone went back. I think someone from the north went back and bought, foodstuff and stuff, for the community. So this is not a question of whether he was giving money. Obviously, he was a delegate. He came, he collected money, and he went back and he did Saraka. So it is a societal problem, actually, that something like this happen. Anyway, while we are rounding up, people, those of you joining us across our platforms, if you do have any question, please type your question down. I will be taking your questions in the next segment. But before I do that, do you foresee any emerging thought forces or realignment beyond the current big players like the ADC, PDP, LP, come 2023?
Of course, in politics, a week is a very, very long time in politics. Understand that. In politics, a month is a very, very big time in politics. I met you 8 months to the election. Some people will tell you that is nothing, but in that 8 months, you saw what we achieved. So never say never when it comes to politics. So those who are jubilating, ADC has formed, it's not, that's too early. Let us see how the calibrations fall when the pieces fall into place. I would people have been calling me. I said, don't rush to anywhere. Don't go join any ADC. Just hold on. Let us watch. He said, well, I said, forget the ADC. It is just a staging ground. When you see a platform for elections, I will tell you. That's what I can tell your audience.
Okay.
What the ADC is a staging ground for angry people. Once things go work, you see a platform for election. So I am not the one to say. You want me to agree that we now sell the family dog so we can go and now buy a monkey or a snake? What kind of reasoning is that? Tell me now. Yeah, because the dog barks too much. You want to sell the family dog, so we'll go and buy snake. Snake will bite and kill the children. So calm down. Sometimes you don't use anger to do very foolish and stupid things. I like the opposition as they are coming together because they are coming together. Tinubu has woken up. Hey, who knows? He will do better things. He will do more things. Let's keep working. Okay. It's going to be win-win. But all I can tell you is the ADC is just an honest expression of anger. It is not yet the platform for election.
Okay, so finally here, Dr. Katch Ononuju, if you were to advise the opposition leaders behind closed doors, what 3 urgent steps would you recommend to them to secure victory in 2027? 3 things.
You know, when you suggest things to people, you're suggesting things to people. If it's in politics, you're suggesting things to people who are emotional. One thing I will tell them is I started the crisis to agitate in the PDP. I'm still alive. I will tell them the reason why I started those agitations before I was able to gain a candidate was very simple. The political pendulum for presidency swings between the north and the south. That it has been in the north for 8 years. That if it doesn't come back to the south, the opposition will remain divided and broken. That is it. I would then tell them to further go on and do a postmortem to find out what happened while the opposition tore apart. It was Atiku Abubakar's inordinate ambition. Nothing else. If they now understand that, they will then say, what do we do? I will say, the 3 things I will advise you, look at what the PDP did in 2019. When they saw that they imploded, when the Northerners went to do MPDP and helped to form a coalition that bettered the Buhari presidency, now that you want to unite your position, do what the PDP did in 2019. Could the PDP have now told Atiku that they will do by zoning the presidencies to the south. And that's why you see Atiku now have left and try to form what he called a coalition. And I'm telling people, whether you start to negotiate for that unity of the opposition inside the PDP, or you start to negotiate for that unity of the opposition outside the PDP in what you call the alliance, you must allow equity, fairness, and justice if you need peace in a diverse society like you have in heterogeneous Nigeria. The South are very important. Our fathers used to be afraid of soldiers, and we didn't talk. Our sons' education have now made them in a democracy to be more assertive. That's why even before I could say anything to them, they were organizing. They were using their own money to build for us an organic network. This is the truth. This is the truth. All of us were shocked how the young people were spending their own money, organizing, even people abroad who saw what we were doing. And I will tell them the reason that started before I got Doyin Okupe to join me, may his memory rest in peace. I knew Doyin in the 90s. I would leave my house at Allen Avenue because I lived on Oluwale Street, and I drive to Doyin's house at Ilupeju. That was how we became friendly. That's why we were close. That's how anything politics would be there. I would call Omaba Nibolonwa. He would tell me, and I would go and meet him. I was always comfortable with him. So when he did his 60th birthday, and he said, Katch, what do we do? I say, Omaba, we're not getting younger. Let us do certain presidency. If it doesn't work, then we can go follow and the percentage will try it. He said, but we don't. I said, I will find candidates. And I started looking at people we didn't have. Then the northern and former governor called me and said, Katch, I said, sir, you want the thing to work? I said, what do you mean, sir? I said, this is your thing. You know me. Go and fight Peter. I said, what do you mean go and fight Peter? I said, your people have money, but they don't put it in politics. In 2019, Peter brought money to Atiku. To put that kind of money in politics. That was why after Atiku emerged, and all those leaders like Economist, they were not getting ready to go to Atiku's place. They were in their car when they had inside the radio broadcast, Atiku was announced P2B. And that was also what I told Peter. I said, look, this business, as far as I can get my information right, it is the man who brings the money to pay when you're going to beggar to buy a motor. That is the man that stays in front of the motor when they are testing that motor. And in this case, Patrick Ifeanyi Okowa is the man funding Atiku. There is no way you will be allowed to stay in front of that motor when they secure it at the primaries. He said what? I said Okowa is the person. The same Okowa that hosted certain governors to assist in the south was the first to start funding Atiku. And that was when we now were convinced Peter now knew he had to do alternative things. So all of us are still alive. All of us, you know how I met you. So I can tell this story. Some of us may have died, like Okwadike is passed, Obiozo has passed. Others are still alive. So I'm recounting it now. Telling the people to start working with me. Before we started blaming Peter, will come to my house. They will say, Katch, keep talking to people. I say, why am I not going to talk to them? You people served with him as commissioner. They say, no, we cannot say no to him. You can argue, you can. I say, really, say, keep telling him. And I kept telling him. And he knew I was sincere in my insisting I wouldn't listen to him. And one day I asked him, I said, okay, why you know they invest with me? He said, no, you don't agree. That's why I like you. You say no. If you're an OS member, I don't need you, Katch. Peter told me this, and I just kept quiet. But I knew the truth about what I was telling him were real. I was convicted. He knew. And then when he agreed to run, we took it, and the rest is history. That's why when you talk about VP, I say no. The vice presidency is a slaughterhouse. No Nigerian has survived the vice presidency. An old man as president, a cabal will take over. The first thing they do, they will appropriate the work of the VP to themselves, then degrade the VP. Can't you see? Osibanjo today is looked at the same way they see Aribeshola in Tinubu's camp. Yes. The vice presidency degrades you.
It's quite funny.
You can see how Shetima is.
The man who called him an ice cream seller appears to be selling kunu now. Is it?
Oh, it's not a mortuary attendant. Can't you see that?
Oh, Kachi, thank you very much for being my guest. Before I let you go, we say in our place, we don't have these conversations all the time. So if I have the opportunity and privilege of sitting you down for 2 hours to actually have this conversation, I will say thank you very much. But before I let you go, as I said before, please, my question is, what is your view? Because this is the state of the nation, and you are from Imo State and you're currently in Imo State. It means you are on the ground. And I ask, what is the state of insecurity or vis-a-vis security in the Southeast today?
Security in the Southeast is excellent, beautiful now. You have residual criminals operating. But since the Tinubu administration came in, I think the federal funding for the non-government sting operation has ceased. That's why it doesn't exist anymore. The East is not peaceful. What you have are residual nonsense by criminals, mostly perpetrated by Igbo kidnappers. But that old issue where Bichi was commanding Asari them and all those idiots, all those things are over. It doesn't happen anymore. The East is over. Don't forget, Buhari started this insecurity with his Python dance. Then later on, and when I tried to inquire from somebody, I said, what really is going on? He said, Buhari is not happy that Njenje killed a lot of their Boko Haram people. And then that takes me back to the words of Mandela. Mandela said, any leader who comes to power and starts to pursue revenge will only end up destroying his society. The East is very good today. The old unknown government has ended because I thank the Tinubu administration for ending federal funding of the unknown government sting operation. So the East is good now. Okay? Don't listen to all those people who are just throwing stories about the East. I am telling you now, I'm in the East. I'm speaking to you from the East. The East is peaceful. I drive. I was in Olo this morning. I went to get something there. From Olo, I went to Eziachi. From there, I went to see my friend Atu Mujike. So everything is fine.
But there are still
the sting operation is over.
But there are still camps where certain elements do occupy, especially between the borders of Imo State and the Anambra State.
Yes. A lot of the elements that were used to perpetrate the violence were people who were harvested from prison. Under Buhari, there were 13 prison outbreaks. So a lot of those people, they were harvested and put there. Some of them don't even know that the government is over. Like during the Civil War. 10 years after Civil War, some people are still hung in some bushes. It took hunters to capture them and to tell them the war is over. So that's what it is. And I also commend the governors. They're doing very well. But of course, you have a lot of criminals, residual criminals, but the East is perfectly over. And for that, I thank the Tinubu administration. You see, Tinubu has done well when it comes to that. He has stopped all federal funding of the unknown government sting operation that was perpetrated by elements of the Buhari administration. I said it during Buhari's time. I said, these are Buhari's games. Because those boys, and don't forget, they were up to 38 different Biafra now organizations. But only one was true. And that was why they arrested the one who didn't agree to do to what they're doing. And all these people will keep quiet. Government will be doing all this thing. And you see them, they just do skits, dress up on video, do this and throw on the internet to pretend as if something is going on. It's not true. The people with boots on the ground is the federal government. Along that, the place you're talking about now, take a flip look behind it. The flip look behind where you're talking about now is the Onitsha Owerri Road. One of the heaviest guided area with federal military presence. So how come you're not telling me at the back of it, you have these things? When it is easy to throw up a drone and smoke at everybody. You see that? So the Nigerian security services that get medals when they go outside. Nigerian police organization that are so good when they go for outside peacekeeping operation. Suddenly, internally, cannot do anything. You hear what happens in Benue. You hear what in Plateau. They collude. If they collude in the north, why wouldn't they collude in the east? So the war has ended. Buhari has gone. But then cleansing the aftermath of war probably will take time. I commend the governors. I commend the governors. I commend the governors. I also commend my own governor for his fantastic delivery of world-class infrastructure. I have seen that with my own eyes here in Imo. No governor in the past 24 years has done, when he put them combined, what Hope has done in infrastructure. I was saying it to somebody and he said, but he does it, he collects money. I said, but why did the people who come before him not have that wisdom to also do those federal roads, do other things, and go to Abuja and collect money, even if you say they pay him? It is the man who brought corn to me that I will say thank you. Not to tell me he brought it when rain is falling. He brought it when the man brought corn to me. That's what I say.
In fairness, it appears the crop of leaders we have in the Southeast in this dispensation actually knows how to play the game to use state fund, construct federal road, and collect the money back. If you alluded to Imo State, or look to Owerri, I mean, that's a very fantastic road done, and that's a federal road. The Okwere road that I drove, I think about 2 weeks ago, on my way to Umahia. I mean, again, another fantastic, construction. From Olu to Akokwa, and Akokwa to the boundary at Oga, the dualization to join what Soludo is doing from Oga Ezinifite to Ekulobia. When you think about it, it's actually, in actual sense, a very good approach to, rather than tell the government, oh, we are waiting for you to come and do federal road for us. They do it and get the fund. Now, but the question is, especially in your own state, that many people will now say, well, we appreciate what your governor is doing, but why is he not doing the inner roads? That's the state roads. But again, that's a conversation for another day. My final point here is, I do appreciate, your point on security, and also that the crop of governors we have now, I would say better than what we had before. That they are, in my view, being intentional. And in the last couple of weeks, I was in the Southeast. I went around the Southeast. I was in Abia, I was in Enugu, I was in Anambra, just basically to inspect infrastructure. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if time permits, I might be in Imo, on a project inspection, and probably Ebonyi, depending on availability there. So, things are moving, but I would want to ask you, now you talked about what the president inaugurated yesterday. What is your view on the economic development of the Southeast vis-a-vis the presidency, understanding that the Southeast did not give him their vote? Do you think, as you said with the ministers, that he is obviously having grudges against the Southeast? Or do you think that the president is doing that which he ought to do as someone who has been voted in as the father of the nation?
I would say Tinubu was also damaged by the influence from those that he took power from, which was the Buhari and his cabal. I don't know whether he wanted to impress them in their subjugation of the Igbo program. So he also wanted to show them that he can also do that which makes them happy, which is, remember, Buhari weaponized nepotism and used that to subjugate the Igbos. And then probably Tinubu now thought, probably if I do this, this will be happy. But now that the CPC faction are leaving him, he knows that he needs the East. He knows that he needs the Middle Belt. I think he should now to start, not just to announce an investment development fund for the Southeast, but also sign on inclusion. And that's why I told you this. We need in the Southeast, Tinubu to use federal funding to do the ports, not just the ports only in Lagos and Ogun, the ports in Owaza. Show Electorati what you're doing. I appreciate. I will join you. The ports in Imo at Oguta, which Hope Uzodinma started the dredging of before he came, and then said they should stop it. The port at Ibono, previously at Ebaka, Godwin Akpabio told me that Ebaka is a problem because of the clusters there of too much pipeline. So shifting it to the Ibono area, which is a bit freer, will be better for ship going. Akpabio told me this. And also, you now have also seen the Port Harcourt port. Secondly, please, Amechi didn't do us well, President Tinubu. Let the East become part of the standard gauge railway line. The most task road in Nigeria today is the road between Lagos and Onitsha. The Federal Waterways and Shipping Authority say that 75% of the containers that bet in Lagos end up coming to the southeast markets of Onitsha.
That's correct.
Aba, and wherever you have. So if you now have that kind of thing, why don't you then build to these markets and connect these roads instead of building to connect Nigeria and Maradi? What is our problem with Maradi? Buhari said he's building Maradi because his relatives are there. Okay, Buhari has gone. Please, Tinubu, face Nigeria now. And thirdly, as I said earlier, Igbo land is home to 74% of the gas holdings of Nigeria. Let the Igbos be part of the National Gas Master Plan. Please, go back to Ibe Kachuku's gas architectural plan and implement it so that you do not create future problem for Nigeria. Let the Igbos feel that your government also sees them as part of the Nigerian family. We're not asking for too much. All we want is to be treated like others. And let us simply do that. You know, another thing I've not told you, electricity is getting better in my village, in my community. The Obasanjo project has now been given to the Imo State government. And I believe in no time, we in the East will have more electricity than anything because the government here in Imo has already established what they called Orashe Electric. And that Orashe Electric is now being used to say, since the communities and the governments gave all these electricity facilities, the community and government can also use it to have Orashe Electric with its 385 megawatts generating capacity in Egbema to supply light to Imo State. They have the 385. Imo State only need 111. So if they give us that, they can then sell the excess to the national grid. So I think we have a lot of good things. And of course, the gas pipeline from Aloji will also, and the other Niger Delta electricity capacity that was also built in Aloji is there. Add that to geometric. All we need is gas. Link us to this largest gas field in Africa at Asa North.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Katch Ononuju. Thank you. I must thank you once more for being my guest this evening. This is a perfect place to anchor this conversation this evening. It's been the state of the nation with you. Thank you for being my guest. Good night.
I thank you very much for having me. I also thank your audience for being patient with me. And we will be meeting every time. If you give me advance notice, I'll be happy to share my thoughts with them.
Thank you very much. Good night. Bye for now.